Donald Trump is just as unpopular as he was in 2018, but Democrats are still falling behind, and it's a big warning sign for the midterms. Every election year, political nerds obsess over the generic ballot. This is basically just the nerd term for the question, would you vote for a Republican or a Democrat for Congress? Most of the time, the number is pretty close, but when there's a blue wave or a red wave coming, the first signs usually show up in the generic ballot. In 2010, for example, Republicans took an early lead, which only grew as we got closer to the midterms, when there was a red tsunami. In 2018, Democrats consistently led the whole time, and then a blue wave happened. And usually, those kinds of leads correspond with there being an unpopular president. When people don't like the president, they become more likely to back the other party for Congress. This time, though, that pattern is kind of breaking. Trump's approval rating now is almost exactly what it was this time in 2018. But Democrats' lead on the generic ballot, even as it's grown from 2025, is about half what it was this time in 2018. And for some political analysts and observers, this is a really interesting dynamic. And for Republicans, it could be a real lifeline, or a mirage. Let's talk about three theories of what's going on here. Theory number one, the Democratic brand is worse. The data on this is clear. The Democratic Party is noticeably more unpopular in 2026 than in 2018. Back in 2017, the polling firm Gallup found Democrats' favorability rating 7 points underwater, with 44% having a favorable view of the party and 51% having an unfavorable view. Fast forward to September 2025, and they've dropped a net 17 points. They're now 37 to 61. The pollster YouGov also tracks this regularly. Here's where they had Democrats in spring 2018, and here's where they have Democrats now. So clearly, people just dislike Democrats more now than they did during Trump's first term. And not only that, but voters like Republicans more now. While Democrats dropped 17 points in Gallup's polling from 2018 to 2025, Republicans gained a net 5 points. And YouGov found the same trend. And that has had a real impact in the real world. Republicans have made big inroads in registering more people as Republicans. Now, those gains have tapered off, or even reversed in many places after Trump's first year back in office, but Republicans are still in a better position on voter registration compared to Trump's first term. And this is all part of a broader landscape of just how different 2026 is from 2018. Remember, the first time Trump came to office, it was with 46% of the vote, with millions fewer votes than his opponent. And even most Republicans, especially Republicans in Congress, didn't love him. This time, he got almost half the vote, won the popular vote, Republican voters adore him, and congressional Republicans will do basically whatever he says. Meanwhile, Democrats are perceived as weaker, more divided, and they're more unpopular. And so, even as the generic ballot changes, that difference has real impacts for winning elections. Voters not liking Trump is one thing, and it's a key part of any Democratic victory. But it's not everything. Voters need to trust that Democrats are actually better, and that's still proving to be a problem. A Washington Post poll from February is a good example. It found 62% of Americans believe Trump is out of touch with regular people's concerns. Pretty bad number, right? Except it found an even bigger number, 65%, believe Democrats are out of touch. Fundamentally, Americans distrust Democrats more and like Democrats less in 2026 than in 2018. One reason that could be? Theory number two, the ghost of Joe Biden. One way to think about all of this is pretty simple. In Trump's first term, America's last memory of a Democratic president was Barack Obama. In Trump's second term, America's last memory of a Democratic president is Joe Biden. And that difference is pretty enormous. Obama left office with a 60% approval rating. Biden left office with an approval rating in the 30s. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support us. And if you want to read more of my work, subscribe to my newsletter at thelongrun.news. Link in bio. Okay, so Biden was really unpopular, and that unpopularity has already been a drag for the Democratic Party. In 2024, Kamala Harris became the first candidate in 46 years from either party to not improve in a single state. Trump gained ground in all 50. She was also the first candidate in 94 years not to flip a single county. It's hard to disconnect that from the fact that she was vice president to Joe Biden, a very unpopular president. And unlike Obama, Biden's time as president coincided with crises that began while he was president. Obama's main political problem during his presidency was slow economic growth. But that began as a result of the stock market crash and Great Recession, which both started before he took office. Biden's main political problem as president was inflation, which started after he took office. Yes, inflation happened worldwide, yes, it was worse in many other countries, but voters clearly blamed Biden for a lot of it. And so it's probably likely that some voters still have some bad memories associated with what happened the last time Democrats were in charge. And this, to me, is the biggest explanation. Americans can move on from some stuff quickly, but there are other things that really leave a mark. In 2012, Obama's campaign ran a lot of ads reminding people of George Bush's presidency.
You watched and worried. 2 wars, tax cuts for millionaires, debt piled up.
And that worked, because it can sometimes take a party a long time to fix its reputation after a failed presidency. But there's also another potential explanation for what's going on here. And this one has a lot more hope for Democrats. Theory number 3. Democrats are dragging down Democrats. While all of what we've talked about so far is very true, there's also a really important layer here. A chunk of Democrats' bad polling now is coming from their own people. YouGov's polling is a good example of this. Here is registered Democrats' opinion of their own party. In 2026, the number of Democrats with an unfavorable view of the Democratic Party is almost twice the number it was at in 2018. Other polls consistently show this too. Before the 2024 election, an Associated Press poll found registered Democrats liked their party by a 73-point margin, 85-12. Cut to February 2026, and it's down to a 44-point margin, 70-26. And there are a lot of reasons why this could be. One is pretty simple. They lost to Trump. A lot of Democrats look at that as an absolute failure of their party's leadership. Essentially, you had one job and you failed. Another is that once Trump won, Democratic leaders were clearly unprepared for what he would do in office, and they did not strategize all that well. Another reason could be that Democrats' leadership has become out of step with a lot of Democratic voters on the issues. Israel and Palestine is a good example. In 2022, Gallup found that, by 2 points, Democratic voters sympathize more with Israelis than Palestinians. In 2026, Democratic voters now sympathize more with Palestinians by 48 points. Wherever you personally stand, that is very much not where most Democratic leaders are. So there's a lot of reasons why Democrats might be down on their party right now. And a big question going into the midterms will be, how much will that actually matter? And will a lot of Democrats turn out and vote anyway? Right now, the signs are probably. Polls show that Democrats are really fired up to vote, way more than Republicans, which is a big part of why they're doing so well in special elections. For more on that, check out our video here. And there are some growing signs that, for now, a lot of the independents who are annoyed with both Democrats and Trump are starting to break towards Democrats, even if they dislike Democrats more now than they did in 2018. And remember, at the end of the day, an unenthusiastic vote counts just the same as an enthusiastic one. And it's also worth remembering that 2018 was a really big year historically. Democrats won the popular vote that year by 8.6%, the largest margin for a minority party in a midterm in history. Winning by a little less might not be the historic rebuke they want, even if it would still be a pretty big win. But Democrats might still have some work to do to ensure they get there. All right, you made it this far, so you might as well hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, subscribe to my newsletter, link in bio.